Hi you guys, this is Mrs. Lloyd and I am just checking in with a little lesson here on shapes. So I went ahead and I used the page that I put online for your parents to print out, and I cut it up. And now I'm going to go ahead and talk about how we can use these little paper shapes to do some fun sorting and composing of different new figures. So the first thing I want to tell you is, how do we look at a shape and count sides? Sides are the straight parts of the shape. So if I'm counting the sides of this rectangle, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. Now the corners are where the two straight sides come together. Something you need to know in first grade is there is a difference between certain kinds of corners. The corner on this triangle right here is different than this corner right here. This is a special corner called a square corner. And square corners are when two sides meet, one going straight across and one going up and down. I can try to make the square corner with my arm. If I hold my arm up like this and I try to hold it so that this part of my arm is going straight across and then this part of my arm goes straight up and down, I'm trying to create a square corner right here in this space. All squares and rectangles have square corners. So if I use a sticky note and I want to check and see if this shape, a rectangle, has a square corner, I can line it up and I can see, look, this does have a square corner, because this side that's going, you can see the purple part, is going from side to side, and then this side where it meets is going straight up and down, and it creates a square corner where the sides will actually line up with the sides of my sticky note, my square. Now if I try to do that same thing with this triangle part right here, I see, oh no, look, this triangle, the side going up and down lines up perfectly, but this side of the triangle right here does not go straight across. Instead, it diagonally goes down, and it doesn't have a square corner. But if I hold it up to this part of the triangle right down here, and look at these two sides, I see this side is going straight up and down, and this side is going across, and that area right there where the two sides meet is actually a perfect square corner. So square corners are going to be really important to decide if a four-sided shape is a rectangle or a square, because rectangles and squares need square corners. All right, so let's look at our shapes here. I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera, and you can see all the shapes I cut out. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make two piles of shapes that have four sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, and shapes that have three sides, 1, 2, 3. So this has four sides. This one has 3. These are all called triangles, these three-sided shapes. 3. Oh, this shape has four sides. 4. This one has four sides. 4 sides. 4 sides. 4 sides. 4 sides. This one has 4 sides. These all have 4 sides. And these shapes right here have 3 sides. Okay, so this pile has all of my shapes that have 4 sides, and this pile has all of my shapes that has 3 sides. I'm going to put this pile to the side. I don't need it right now for our video. So now what we should have are only the shapes that have 4 sides. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to sort it into squares and rectangles. Now squares and rectangles are shapes that have the same attributes in the fact that they all are closed shapes. They all have 4 sides and 4 square corners. But we know that squares are special kinds of shapes because all of their sides are the same length. So this is a square. These are all exactly the same, squares. Oh, look, this one is not a square because I can see right now that these two sides are longer than this side and this side. So that is a rectangle. Okay, here's another one. Rectangle, rectangle. Here is a square. Its sides are all equal. Rectangle, rectangle, and another rectangle. So now what I have is I have a pile of rectangles and a pile of squares. I can even separate them with a pencil here. So here I can go and show you all of these shapes right here are squares on this side, and these shapes over here are rectangles. There we go. All right. So, and it doesn't matter which way I turn my squares and rectangles, because a lot of us sometimes will see, oh, look, if I take my square and instead of having these sides go straight up and down and side to side, if I turn it like that so that the corners are pointing up and down, I can say, oh my goodness, this looks like a diamond. But it's not a diamond. It's just a square, and you can turn the square. The squares can be different sizes and different colors, but they're still squares because they have the same attributes. So all of them have 4 sides, 2, 3, 4, 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the corners are square. I can even check it with a piece of paper if I want. See how the sides of my sheet of the square totally line up. That means it's a square corner. So we're going to decide what a shape is based on the attributes it has, not how the shape is turned, not the size of the shape. It can be small, it can be big, it can be different colors, but we're going to call it a square based on its attributes. Just like we're going to call all of these shapes rectangles based on its attributes. In fact, I could go like this and say all of these shapes are rectangles, but then I could separate them like this and say, oh, but this is a special kind of rectangle, a square, because its sides are equal or the same length, whereas these rectangles, their sides, they have 2 long sides and 2 short sides. So they're just rectangles, but they do have 4 sides all together with 4 square corners right there. So all of those shapes are rectangles. And that is it for a quick little video on rectangles and a special kind of rectangle called squares.